Jane said, call somebody else. I am not a porn star. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and it is time for another Daily Diddy, bringing you daily updates from the P. Diddy trial until we get a verdict. So we have now started week 3 of trial with Jane still on the stand. Now, Jane is a former girlfriend of Diddy's. She's been testifying since last week, and it seems that she has concluded her direct examination today. So more just gross, heartbreaking testimony. First off, she kept reiterating over and over again how many times she told Diddy she no longer wanted to do these hotel nights, that this was disgusting to her, she didn't enjoy it, she wanted a normal relationship. He kept spending time and sleeping with other women while insisting she continues to do the hotel nights. And she was just like, why is everyone else getting love and respect and not me? She talked about a few instances in 2023 where she specifically told him she didn't want to do it. So for instance, she sent him a text saying, I don't want to fly to New York to be a hoe for the millionth time. I said, call somebody else. I am not a porn star. That's exactly how I felt. She, of course, felt obligated because of the fact that Diddy paid her rent and would also guilt trip her if she didn't want to engage in these hotel nights. Basically, Diddy texted her and said, listen, it's not okay for you to say no to me. Like he made it very clear what he wanted from her. And as much as she was like, I want to have a normal relationship, he made it very clear, I don't want any of that from her. She basically was like, you know what? I need a break. And of course, the cycle begins again. He starts love bombing her. I'll get into more of that in a bit. But again, he does a full court press to try to bring her back in the fold so that she'll continue to do these hotel nights for him while, not being able to have the relationship she wants. So she talked about that whenever he wanted hotel nights, that he would love bomb her. So love bombing means he would give her a ton of affection, gifts, just like completely smother her until she got to the point of saying yes. Now, this is a form of psychological and emotional abuse. It is a manipulation tactic used by abusers the world over. So just want to make sure that folks understand that. Of course, he would constantly threaten the roof over her head, being like, if you don't do this, you're going to be out on the street. And here's what's even more twisted. He would say to her, listen, all of these orgies, this is your own free will. This is what you want to do. You want to be here. And she's like, no, I really don't want to. And so when she was asked about this in court, she basically was like, listen, I'm still trying to figure out all that happened. But again, these weren't things that I really wanted to do. Now, when she saw Cassie's lawsuit, she fainted. The reason why she fainted was because Cassie's lawsuit read word for word of the experiences that she had as well. She literally was reading her own trauma on paper when she saw what Cassie said. And of course, the minute Cassie's lawsuit dropped, who got a phone call from Diddy but Jane? And of course, he was trying to circle the wagons. He said to her, what can I do to make you feel better? My love is true. I really want to be with you. Meanwhile, this was all a recorded call. And who recorded the call? Yeah, you guessed it. Kristina Khorram. Yeah, chief of staff. Again, this is getting us to RICO. I'll explain why in a minute. So, of course, he's begging her for her support, pray for me, this and that. So, of course, he's trying to brainwash her to cover his tracks. He, basically, she kept saying, like, listen, I'm crying, I'm troubled, I don't want to do this anymore. And why don't you just hire a sex worker rather? She was basically like, listen, hire a sex worker rather than, basically pimp out the women that love you. Like, what is wrong with you? And she actually got to a point where she was strongly considering self-harm. And, and when she was asked about this on the stand, she literally broke down. She was crying hysterically. No one could really understand what her response was because she was just so broken in talking about what happened to her, which is just awful. She talked about how Diddy had threatened to expose the sex tapes that he had made of her, showing that she was heavily drugged and in the midst of all these hotel nights. She, of course, called who? Kristina Khorram to tell her, hey, talk some sense into him. This is crazy. Why is he trying to do this? And she's like, hey, don't worry about it. Nothing's going to happen. So Jane tried to get some independence sometime in early 2024 by going on OnlyFans in order to be able to earn some money because remember, Diddy didn't let her work. Now, she did admit that in early 2024, around February, she did have sex with another man in front of Diddy after vowing not to go near him again. Now, here you have to remember Dr. Don Hughes' testimony, the forensic psychologist who talked about how survivors or victims often go back to their abuser because they don't see another way out and they can't really find their way out of the matrix. So there's that. Now, going back to the whole Cassie tape incident, once that broke, basically Diddy admitted to Jane that yes, he hit Cassie, but it was just the once. I didn't hit her all the time. And then she found out firsthand what he was really about. So last summer, they had an argument about him dating a woman 25 years younger than him. And she was like, what the heck, you're a pedophile. And then what did he do? Beat her, choked her, kicked her, dragged her around by the hair, had her to the point where she's curled up in a ball, just like Cassie, getting kicked and beaten. In that same incident, he beat her forever. And then afterwards, basically he forced her to take ecstasy and have sex with another man while he watched. And what did he say to her? Oh, is this coercion? Hello, sir. If you gotta ask, you know damn well it is. Okay? So there's that. So they introduced pictures of the damage that was done to her home as a result of Diddy kicking doors and beating her and all of that. She talked about another incident where they had spent 24 hours together straight, partying and having sex. When she was like, listen, I'm tired, I want to go to sleep, he threw water in her face, called her a bitch, and basically she was like, I'm sorry. She took ecstasy and then, had sex with another man in front of him, all the things that he wanted. So at this juncture, she was asked, what do you think of Diddy now? What is your thought process? And she's like, listen, I pray for his continued healing and for peace for him. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, she's way more gracious than me. But here's the thing, as we're looking in this testimony, because I saw a lot of the comments and people are like, kind of back and forth about her. The most important thing about Jane is that she gets us closer to RICO. Why? Because again, who's central in the story? Kristina Khorram. She is the chief of staff of Diddy. She is his employee. So this is another way of showing that Diddy's enterprises were involved in, number one, drug trafficking. Because where did the ecstasy come from? Diddy didn't go down to the corner and go buy some ecstasy. It was his staff that had to do it. So he is using his companies to buy drugs for him so that he can do these freak offs, hire the sex workers, or at least get the money to the sex workers. And of course, buying the flights, flying all over the country to do these freak offs and hotel nights. That's travel for the purposes of prostitution. So again, we're getting closer to RICO. All right, y'all. See you tomorrow. Bye.